Hey, I've been using Fujifilm X-H2s for a year now, and I've shot a short film, some promo videos, some YouTube videos with it. The question is, do I like it or do I regret buying it? Let's talk a little.
In a previous video I mentioned some pros like better autofocus, more resolution, better EVF, ProRes. Yes, I stand behind all my opinions except ProRes. Why? It made me excited at first glance, yes. It plays well on a computer, true. But I have some second thoughts, and I will explain in a bit. But if you don't want to listen to this part, please feel free to choose another point down below. First of all, when I got this camera, I've been editing videos on my i7 8700K processor, which couldn't handle H265 files well. On top of this, 422 files are giving hell to both software and hardware. It's better now, a little bit. But even Fuji says limited playback ability for 422 H265 files. ProRes doesn't have those problems. Also, while shooting ProRes, you can also record half-resolution H264 or ProRes, so you create proxy in camera. Brilliant. However, at one point I got a MacBook Pro with M1 processor, which is killing it. H265 422 is not a problem anymore. So even M1 MacBook Air can play H265 files in real time. Also, in professional work, you may want to back up the files in case of a card failure. I've never had any problem with any cards before or any camera, but just once would ruin everything, wouldn't it? So I generally record to both cards, and X-H2s can record ProRes to only to CF Express card, the CF Express slot. If you want to record to both cards, you gotta choose H265. If you're a photographer, by the way, it's all good. You don't need to think about all these. Let's talk a little bit about codecs. If someone else is gonna edit my files, which happened, I shot H265 420 because not every software or computer can play 422 files. So 360 megabits per second F-Log2 was my choice. The F-Log2, the extra dynamic range, really helped. If I'm going to edit the files myself, I might choose H265 All Intra 422. The camera cannot create proxies while recording H265, but this is exactly when you will need proxies actually. So you need to transcode the files and make proxies on whatever software you use, Premiere, DaVinci, etc., unless you use a Mac. But even using a Mac, you may want to create proxies. ProRes is known to be more processor friendly because it's less compressed, but it's your hard drive's enemy. I never thought I would say this, but H265 might have some advantages over ProRes. Yes. Let's talk about noise performance. As you know, compression algorithms combine an average pixels, which basically acts like a denoiser. That's why the same thing recorded as ProRes is noisier than H265. You guess which one is ProRes, but I hope YouTube doesn't ruin it with compression. Also, downscaling and oversampling from 6.2K to 4K does a similar thing. If you shoot 4K, you get less noise. By the way, these are all regardless of the noise reduction setting on the camera. I wouldn't use it because it softens the video a lot. You lose lots of detail and sharpness. So if your computer's CPU is not that powerful and you don't want to wait at post, it's a painful process, I know, you may use it. But I think denoiser plugins on PC could be a better option and you have more control over them. These are all personal preferences, personal choices, and depend on who shoots and who will edit the files. By the way, if you use an Atomos Ninja 5 Plus or Blackmagic recorder, you can record Blackmagic RAW or ProRes RAW. But I don't know why. One time I needed to record 4K but send 1080p signal for a Holy Land wireless transmitter. It couldn't do it. I remember doing it in X-T4. I could select HDMI resolution, but in this one, you cannot select HDMI resolution. I don't know why. If you're recording 4K, it sends out 4K, 6.2K, 6.2K. I don't know. As I mentioned in my 6K versus 4K video, 6.2K has more details as you would expect, but if you're going to use it as 4K, I cannot think of any upside besides heavy reframing or anamorphic. I don't have any anamorphic lenses, but Shooting open gates can give you a 2:1 aspect ratio at 132x budget anamorphic lenses, for example, or with a 1.6x lens, you would get 240:1 cinemascope result. I think that's brilliant. I need to try it sometime. F-Log 2 is definitely superior to F-Log 1. You get more dynamic range, and you can set your zebras at 85%. It's around that. And you can check your histogram for clipping, but you will see it around 85%, not at the very end. I tend to expose to the right, and I checked the peaking. Unfortunately, we cannot record directly to an SSD. I don't know why. Fuji, please add this if the port is fast enough. New Lumix cameras can do this. By the way, I made a video about these SSDs too. You can check it after this video. 6.2K has some limitations like no digital image stabilization, which you shouldn't use anyway. Optical image stabilization is good and useful, and digital one is something you can do in your computer too. And boost mode is creating weird drifts. It's like it stops shakiness, but if you move more than it can handle, it pans or tilts weirdly. It tries to keep the video rock solid until it cannot. Then the movement is not smooth at all, so don't use it. X-H2s has 4K 60p, which can be used as 2x slow motion, or 4K 120p, but it will be recorded as 5 times slowed down 24p or 2530, you will choose. The quality is good, but please choose the highest bitrate, because it will be sliced into 120 frames. I believe 720 megabits per second seems enough. I'm happy with it. But 240 frames is ridiculous. Don't use it, it's very bad. What about autofocus? Well, the face and eye detection work fine in most cases. I generally combine it with area selection, so I guide it to look at somewhere. It's a lot better than X-T4. I can compare those. And probably the best in Fuji line. So of course it's not Sony level. I know the new Sony mirrorless cameras are god level, but Sony has been making video cameras and linear motor lenses throughout its history, if I'm not mistaken. So Fuji is trying to catch up with its photo lenses and new sensors. Anyway, I tried the autofocus in 40 frames photo burst mode as well. For portrait photography, it works fine. Look, when she exited and entered the frame again, a few frames are out of focus, then quickly in focus again. Rival Sony cameras can shoot like, 10 or 15 frames per second. So even if X-H2s loses focus in half of its photos, and it does not do that, just a couple of frames were out of focus. But even if in the worst case scenario, half of the pictures were out of focus, that would make 20 photos in focus. It's a lot more than, not a lot more, 5 more than Sony. You got the point. Also, compressed RAW files are around 25 megabytes, and it really depends on your card, how much you can burst RAW. And another great point is, while RAW is 25 megabytes, this camera can record 10-bit high-efficiency photos, which is a lot better than 8-bit JPEGs, obviously. For example, I wouldn't shoot JPEG for a professional work, but I could record high-efficiency, which means more photos per card or longer burst. Thanks to the stacked and very fast sensor, rolling shutter and jello effect is really minimum. In video mode, unfortunately, it doesn't have markers such as 235, 185, 133, etc. If maybe they could bring markers with an update, and maybe false color, I would love that. But I assume they left it for external monitor companies. Its battery is capable of recording more than 90 minutes of 4K H265 files in 25 frames. 6.2K is probably shorter, and 50-60 frames is probably shorter as well. I tried recording 4K H265 and ProRes 422, then checked the percentage after 90 minutes of recording. After H265 recording, battery had 30% left. After ProRes, 25% left. But the camera had a red low battery warning in ProRes, so I don't think it could record more. So we may say H265 consumes less battery, but I don't know, it may be about the CF Express card, etc. as well, I don't know. I checked these numbers via Fuji Charger, by the way. These might be just average guesses. No overheating, by the way. It may overheat in 50p or 6.2K, but it's not my daily use, so I did what I normally do. But I shot a short film with X-H2s in summer. We shot under the sun at noon, and outside was like 33-35 degrees Celsius. The script required that. And just in case, I got the fan from Fujifilm. Fujifilm Turkey gave it to us, thanks. I'm not sure if I would have any problems without the fan, but it's nice to have in extreme conditions. Little note here about the battery. If you use V-mount batteries to supply power, it will be okay probably. But if you plan to supply power via mobile little power banks, check their output values. One day I plugged a power bank after having a low battery warning. I was shooting 50p 4K and camera kept shutting down. The power wasn't enough to keep it recording. So don't wait till the battery is dead. And last but not least, ergonomics. The full-size HDMI is great. 3.5mm input and output is a must. I wish we could use USB-C to record directly to an SSD, but we cannot. About PASM, I was a fan of old dials on XT series, but this is definitely faster. These custom buttons are easy to use. You can manifest your 7 deadly sins, the obsessions. You just need to remember which one is which. They can be named, but you can only see that in the menu, not on LCD, not on the upper screen. Why Fuji, why? For photography, I mostly use aperture or shutter priority modes, so I didn't need a C button for that. For video, changing the resolution or noise reduction setting or color profile is easy. For the tests, I sometimes assigned Prores 422 to one and HQ to another, or H265 6.2K to one and 4K to another. It really depends. For example, I always keep C5 as my slow motion setting, 4K 120p with 1/240 shutter. Oh, also you can differentiate cards maybe. One of the C mode can write to the CF Express card, other one to SD, or maybe another one to both. Don't worry, you can always change these settings in Q mode, quick mode, and you can arrange the quick page itself. Okay, let's summarize this. I believe X-H2s is a good all-in-all camera for some serious video and photo work, but we need to understand what we can expect from this camera. It's a great and very fast photo camera, definitely not a cinema camera, but a very capable video camera. X-H2 is also a great option. With the similar prices, there are great rivals like Sony FX30, Canon R5, Panasonic GH6, S5 Mark II, Nikon something. Which one do you prefer? Which one would you buy? Which one are you using? Please let me know in the comments. And if you made this far, thank you so much. Please do one more thing and come on. I think X-H2s file is closed now. CF Express cards are too expensive, so I will record on floppy disks now. Let me show you. Yeah, see you and take care. Bye bye.